We're going to move to outside with our Cavaletti pole exercises. It's quite a big arena. We're going to increase the difficulty a little. One of the exercises will be the same distance as last week, the canter pole exercise, 2.7 metres. We're now going to raise the middle pole a little bit for the less experienced horses and quite a bit for the more experienced horses. Also going to go and do some curve related lines between the Cavalettis, and on this one we can add a stride easily by going a little bit on the outside line and a slower, more collected canter, and we can take a stride less by going on the inside line and a little bit bolder canter, and it's quite easy to do that on these curved lines. It's good practice for when we come up against those sort of things in the competition arena. And of course our signature exercise, the 5 strides in 19.8 metres, and you'll see that we do play around a little bit with the number of strides according to the level and experience of the horse, but it is the 5 strides in that 19.8 that's the one that gives us the real feel of what the canter should be in jumping. And of course if we're looking at the poles we can train our eye at the same time. If your arena's bigger or smaller, or you want to change the number of strides, for example the 5 stride, bring it back to 4, simply take away 3.6 metres from the measured distances that we give you on our diagram. If you want to add one, add 3.6 or multiples thereof. So just showing you here, we have measured 19.8 metres for the 5 strides. We use this exercise a lot, and if you can look closely, I'll try and zoom in a little bit, you can see where we put the tape on the fence, and of course there's another one further down there. That way when we grade the arena we can take the Cavalettis out of the way and we know where to put them back without having to remeasure every time we do that. Okay, so here we've got Ashley Westcott riding Regina Del Drama. This mare is a 4-year-old thoroughbred, and it is still a racehorse. We're doing some work with it and pre-training and getting it going over poles and stuff. 4-year-old, and she will go back to the racing stable at the end of this week. So we're just going to pop her over one on its own. We really don't mind if she falls out of the canter at this stage. She's not done a whole lot of this work before, but she's pretty relaxed sort of a horse, and not too spooky. It's really good for the racehorses to have had some of this work. Helps them become more adjustable in a race. Down there over our signature 5 stride exercise, she did that pretty well. A little bit wobbly and not so straight at the end of it, but that's okay. There she did a nice flying change, which is good. And she'll come to the exercise here we had last week just as poles. This one's just raised a little bit. We put it down because she's quite green. And again there, nice flying change, a little bit late behind, but that's something the racehorse trainers look for, is that they can do a flying change. If they can do that in the straight at the end, they seem to have a little bit more power at the end of the race. And now we're going to come and do the curve line. This should be a nice 7 strides. 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. She sort of got there in a bit of a half stride. That's okay. We'll do that once more. And because she's a racehorse, it strides quite naturally big. And if Ashley tries to hold it back too much, she'll probably break in the canter. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. That was a lot better for a fairly green horse. And that's a pretty nice way for her to finish off. So here we have Ashley on Witchwood Silver Swift. We had him
in our first video, young Connemara stallion, and he's going to do the curved line here, which is 7 for the bigger horses in 8 strides. Did that quite nicely. And then we've got our distance here for 5 strides, and he's going to do it in 6 because he's a bit smaller. And that's quite nice also. Just gave it a little bit of a rub straight onto the bounce. That's maybe a little bit of a tough turn, but he handled that quite well. And now he's going to try this curved line. We did 8 where there's 7 for the big horses. We're just going to open him up a little bit more so you got the canter early, and he's going to do it in the 7. Actually did it pretty easy. Still has a little bit of an issue with the contact, this guy, sometimes. So Ashley and Witchwood Silver Swift here. We're going to do it a little differently this time. Start on the curved line, which the 7 for the bigger horses. We'll do 8 strides with him there to begin with. Yeah, really quite nice there. That was good. And now we'll come back over the canter pole exercise with the one in the middle raised. Off a nice easy approach here. That was quite good. Now we're going to go down here, do the 6 strides where there's normally 5. Quite good. And then just to open him up a little bit here, we'll do the 7 strides down here, which for the small horse, that's a little bit forward. But he's done that quite well. And a nice little flying change to finish off. It's really good for a horse that's only had a couple of months work from the breakers. So here we have Gabby Thomas, and Gabby's riding a 10-year-old warm blood called Gothenburg. Does the big junior classes, has competed up to about 1.30 m. And he's pretty experienced horse now, and he's a very rideable horse. We can do most of the things that we want to. Gabby's going to come down on the broken line first, and she's just going to do a nice 7, which is how the distance measures, 30 steps or 27 metres. And then we're coming back to this bounce exercise, which is pretty well exactly the same distance as our poles were in the last video, just with the centre raised quite a bit. And he's an experienced horse, so that'll be pretty easy for him. And then we're coming on to this 5 strides. That was an exercise we had in last week, and that's in 19.8, so that's the normal distance. Now Gabby, she did this in 7 last time. She's going to do an outside 8. And that's pretty good. He's very, very rideable. Straight back onto this exercise here again, which is really good. And then we're going to do that curved line. So we've done it in 7, we've done it in 8. She's now going to come through and do that on an inside 6. So she'll just have a little bit bigger canter in, stay on the inside. He does that very easy. So he can lengthen, he can shorten, and he does it with little resistance, very nice contact, and maintains it, and 5 strides back down there to finish. That was really, really good. And that's what we're looking for in the end product. This horse can do forwards, backwards, left and right, and when he gets into a jump off, he can do the same things. He can take a stride out where needed, or add a stride so that he can do a sharper turn. Really smart little horse. So just going to show you a couple other things we can do when we have these exercises set up. Gabby's going to do a leg yield here from one side of the Cavalettis to the outside line there, which she's done that really quite nicely. And then we're going to do a really tight series of rein changes around our pole exercise. Remember, these are for the more experienced horses. This is not something for a green one. You can see there, this is quite tight, almost a canter pirouette, and the back again. And then we'll just redo that again the other way. Really nice and tight back through there. Really sits behind, easy with the flying changes. So that's really good. But this is for experienced horses. This is not for the greener ones.
So in conclusion, this week we didn't have as many horses doing the exercises as we did the week before, but we've got a good cross-section of horses at different levels. The young Connemara stallion, we often add a stride with him because of his size. We have the racehorse, the 4-year-old racehorse, which is really quite interesting. I'm sure a lot of you would have started racehorses off a track, and this is a good example of where you start with that. And of course we've got the really experienced horse as well, that did quite a few of the exercises in different ways. Also we showed a little bit what we can do around the Cavalettis, leg yielding inside and out, and tighter turns around them. But I really want to push home the feeling that 5 strides in 19.8 metres, that's the canter that we're going to use for jumping, and that's the one we really want to train. Adding or subtracting strides, that comes as the horses develop and we improve their canter and rideability. But it's that right canter for the jumping speed that we really want to work on. Hopefully next week we're going to increase the difficulty again, and we'll make it a little bit more interesting with some of the more experienced horses doing that.